years. Most of the time, I was a pediatric home health nurse, and then I transitioned as a nurse educator. I also worked as a surgical nurse before arriving here to Health Texas 5 years ago. With that, let me start this presentation for back to school with ADHD patients or children. Uh, Back to school, I'm sorry, I'm having some trouble here. Back to school is often a stressful time for families, especially when a child has ADHD. New schedules, increased academic demands, and social expectations, changes in routine can make symptoms more noticeable. The goal of this session is to reduce confusion and worry by explaining ADHD in plain, easy to understand form and by offering practical, realistic strategies that families can actually use in daily life. ADHD is not caused by poor parenting or lack of discipline or a child not trying hard enough. It is actually a brain-based condition that affects how a person pays attention, controls impulses, and manages activity levels. Understanding this can help families shift from frustration to problem solving. And with the right supports and routines and communication, students with ADHD can succeed in school, build confidence, and develop lifelong skills. Today, we will try to focus on strength as well as challenges because children with ADHD often have creative energy and unique ways of thinking. Throughout the talk, the information is based patient-friendly and non-judgmental. By the end of the presentation, we hope families feel more prepared for the school year and more confident in advocating for their child, and more aware of tools that can make mornings and homework or school communication a little bit easier. So what is ADHD? ADHD is a common neurodevelopmental condition that affects both children and adults. In simple terms, it just means that the brain has a harder time with attention, self-control, organization, and regulating energy. Children with ADHD often know what they are supposed to do, but struggle with doing it consistently, especially in structured environments like school. There are three main areas where symptoms usually show up: inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. Inattention may look like trouble focusing, being easily distracted, forgetting homework and losing items, or having difficulty following multi-step instructions. Hyperactivity can include excessive movement, fidgeting, difficulty sitting still, or feeling like your child is constantly on the go. Impulsivity often shows up as acting before thinking, interrupting others, blurting out answers, having trouble waiting their time, or making quick decisions without considering the consequences. Not every child with ADHD has all of these symptoms. Some children are more inattentive, others might be more hyperactive or impulsive. Some even might have a combination. ADHD is a common and affects children of all backgrounds. Many children continue to experience these symptoms into adolescence and adulthood. However, the symptoms may change over time. Families should understand that ADHD affects not only learning and behavior, but friendships and self-esteem can also be affected if not properly supporting. Framing ADHD as a difference that requires support, not a flaw, might help families approach school challenges with empathy and realistic expectations. The common symptoms of ADHD often include sustaining attention, frequent forgetfulness, losing items such as homework or school supplies, impulsive decision making, and trouble following multi-step directions. Many children with ADHD struggle with emotional regulation, meaning they become frustrated easily, overwhelmed, or upset. And although hyperactivity can look like constant movement, fidgeting, or talking excessively, it may also appear as internal restlessness, especially in older children. Kids with ADHD aren't acting out on purpose. They want to do well, but they face biological hurdles that make consistent self-regulation very difficult. Families should be encouraged to observe patterns over time rather than focusing on isolated incidents. Understanding symptoms is a key toward choosing appropriate supports at home and at school. Now, we talked about some symptoms. We also need to mention that boys and girls might display these symptoms differently. The truth is that ADHD looks different in boys and girls, and this difference often leads to underdiagnosis and misdiagnosis, especially in girls. Understanding how the symptoms of ADHD vary between males and females is key to ensuring that every child who needs help gets the right diagnosis and treatment. Most boys with ADHD are diagnosed with the hyperactive or impulsive or combined type, which tends to be more obvious in a classroom setting. But ADHD in girls often shows up differently, more quietly, and sometimes even invisibly. By spreading awareness of how ADHD presents differently in boys and girls, we can reduce the stigma, promote early intervention, and help more kids thrive. This pamphlet showing here is common indicators or behaviors for boys. I do have these pamphlets showing here for you to download if you feel that they are necessary or helpful for you. Now, in an ADHD checklist for boys, includes core signs of hyperactivity, impulsivity, and inattention, such as constant physical restlessness, difficulty following multi-step directions, and frequent interruption. Boys often display more visible externalized signs than girls. Hyperactivity and movement for boys can be constant motion, again, like if driven by a motor, fidgeting, squirming at their seats, tapping their hands or their feet, or playing with objects constantly, leaving their seats, getting up during meals or class time, or any other place where sitting is still expected. For boys, impulsivity and self-control might be displayed as blurting out or speaking answers before a question is finished, like if trying to rush, trouble waiting their turn, like in group activities or lineups, reckless actions, doing quick movements without considering safety or rules. Inattention and focus in boys can be displayed as careless mistakes, overlooking small details on schoolwork or chores. They appear more not to be listening. They seem more distracted or ignoring speech, even with no obvious interruption. Task failures, failing to finish instructions or leaving before a project is complete. And forgetfulness, regularly losing school supplies or toys or jackets, school homework. ADHD in girls looks like quite quiet inattentiveness, heavy masking, and perfectionism. Instead of bouncing off the walls, these girls often appear bright and put together on the outside while internally struggling with severe overwhelm or chronic disorganization and mental exhaustion. Girls might tend to be more daydreaming. You might hear a teacher or even a peer say that they are spaced out, like drifting away. There might be a subtle hyperactivity like fidgeting or doodling or messing with their hair, fidgeting with their hair, biting their nails, instead of all that action that boys can get, like running around. Girls do have some verbal impulsivity, like talking a lot, interrupting sometimes, and the blurting out with girls with ADHD comes because of the fear that it has seemed more like they will forget their thoughts. And so they're trying to not forget their thoughts and speak up before. For females, masking and overcompensation portrays itself as perfectionism, working twice as hard and studying late into the night to turn in neat, flawless work. They do tend to use fear of failure or letting other people down as the main push to get them to finish their task, even if it's done at the last minute. They tend to be more people pleasing, striving to be a good or a quiet girl to hide any messy or disorganized habits from teachers and parents. They do tend to have some internal chaos. They are trying to keep everything neat on the outside, while internally they are just having some chaos themselves. They tend more to getting stuck on small choices or failing to start simple tasks like answering a text or brushing their teeth, even while managing big projects. Just like boys, they do tend to misplace items despite their organization or attempt to stay organized. Females are more bigger on emotions. You will see them crying easily, feeling frustrated very fast, and experiencing intense mood swings. Rejection sensitivity is another symptom that we see in females, taking small criticism or gentle feedback very hard as if it were a major failure. Females tend to burn out easier, crashing from exhaustion by the time that they reach their teen years or adulthood because keeping the mask tends to take more energy. Now, displayed here is just a side by side of how the symptoms can manifest in boys and in girls. Now, the transition back to school can be particularly challenging for children with ADHD. Summer schedules are often more relaxed with fewer demands, while returning to school requires children to adjust quickly to early mornings, structured routines, and academic expectations. The thought of new teachers, classrooms, classmates, the transition from one class to another, or switching from playtime to work time can increase anxiety and uncertainty for a child. These emotions often trigger severe morning resistance and school refusal. Avoiding school provides temporary relief from academic overwhelm and social stress, but it ultimately creates a cycle of missed learning. When unmanaged, these attendance and performance barriers severely impact long-term education trajectories. Common school-related difficulties include forgetting to turn in homework, starting assignments late, misplacing books or supplies, and feeling overwhelmed by long or complex tasks. Social challenges may occur as well, like including interrupting peers, difficulty reading social cues, or feeling frustrated more quickly. Over time, these repeated struggles can affect a child's self-esteem. By proactively building a supportive environment that plays to their strengths, like creativity and curiosity, rather than fighting their natural brain wiring, you can reduce stress and build this children's independence. Setting up consistent routines, praising their hard work over their perfect results, and offering small rewards for tasks accomplished creates positive reinforcement and makes them feel capable of doing common daily challenges and turning them into manageable steps. Consistent routines are often one of the most effective tools for supporting children with ADHD. Routines reduce the cognitive load of remembering tasks, minimize transition anxiety, and prevent overwhelming decision paralysis. By establishing reliable patterns for mornings and homework, children learn to focus on singular, manageable steps rather than the whole picture. Visual schedules, checklists, and calendars can make routines more concrete and easier to follow. Movement breaks interrupt mental fatigue and help regulate the nervous system and allow children to consume excess energy, ultimately improving academic performance and emotional control. Families should be encouraged to start practicing school year routines before the first day of school, when possible. And implementing the structured routines at home and collaborating with your child's school can make a tangible difference. You see a daily checklist for ADHD kids. This is just a sample. I did find several of them online. And again, you can go ahead and download any of these if you think they might help you with your child. For students with ADHD, out of sight often means out of mind. Therefore, organization is a common struggle. Prioritizing visibility and accessibility is key in developing organizational strategies that can prevent supplies from getting lost and reduce executive dysfunction. Color-coded folders and notebooks can help children quickly identify subjects, assign a specific color to each subject across all supplies. Using one designated homework folder reduces the chance of assignments being lost. Clear pencil cases are highly recommended for children with ADHD. They prevent item loss and reduce decision fatigue. They also help kids quickly find what they need without rummaging through their supplies. Daily backpack cleanouts and supply checks can prevent clutter from building up. Creating a checklist for what needs to go to and from school each day can be especially helpful. Parents should keep systems simple and consistent rather than over-detailed, as this may help reduce the steps needed to grab and put away the items. Our goal is to reduce cognitive load and make organization as automatic as possible. Now, this after-school backpack checklist, I think it's very necessary. And in a personal note, if I would have had this when my child was little, it would have been of tremendous help because his backpack could carry everything from candy wrappers to paperwork that was important that I missed if he didn't put it in his folder. So us as parents checking their backpack and helping them clean it out daily becomes easier for us not to miss any important paperwork for them. Homework time can be a major source of stress for families because a child with ADHD may understand the material but struggle to show what they know due to missed instructions, incomplete work, or rushed mistakes. Breaking assignments into smaller steps helps prevent overwhelm and procrastination. Using timers such as the Pomodoro technique can improve focus by creating short, structured work periods with breaks. And that Pomodoro technique is shown here. It shows you how it works and the time breaks that we should set as parents, especially during homework time. Establishing a consistent homework routine and location reduces daily conflict. Test different settings at home to see what fits best for your child. Some kids with ADHD focus better in quiet spaces with noise-canceling headphones, while others thrive at the kitchen table with moderate background noise. Incorporate some sensory tools, offering crunchy snacks or standing desk or a yoga ball chair to help meet their sensory needs while working. It all depends on your child. If they are more of the active type, if you want to incorporate like a standing desk for them so they can stand up and move around. Positive reinforcement, such as a praise or small rewards, can motivate children and build confidence. Parents should be reminded that homework time should focus on effort and progress, not perfection. The goal is to support learning while preserving family relationships and emotional well-being. I do know that one of the questions was also on the staying on task, even if already having the checklist. And this Pomodoro technique might help that child. It shows us how during the homework time, set a timer for them to work for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break, whether that is walking around, sitting away from his desk where his homework is at, using his phone for 5 minutes, and then go back to the 25-minute task. That way, their brain has some time to decompress and get back to their homework without getting overwhelmed. Now, because many common ADHD medications can suppress appetite, nutritious meals and protein-packed snacks are especially important to ensure your child receives the fuel they need to grow and focus. Lean protein-rich foods digest slowly, which prevents the rapid blood sugar spikes and crashes caused by sugary snacks or simple carbohydrates. The steady supply of energy keeps concentration sharp and can prevent irritability. Omega-3 fatty acids play a vital role in regulating neuron transmission and improving attention span. Nutrients found in whole grains, legumes, and lean meats help the brain produce and regulate chemicals needed for focus and memory. Sleep deprivation can worsen attention, mood swings, and behavior, making consistent bedtimes especially important for our kids. Physical activity provides an outlet for excess energy and can improve concentration and emotional regulation. These small nutritional improvements help reduce hyperactivity, improve concentration, and regulate a child's mood. Families should understand that these habits are supportive tools, not a cure, but they can make a noticeable difference in daily functioning. Encouraging small, achievable changes helps families feel empowered rather than overwhelmed. As parents, I think it's important for us to also allow our kids to choose. We know what, now we can hear that some of the nutrients are helpful or omega-3s. It is important while they're getting their snacks for us to make sure they're protein packed, but allow the child to pick. Allow the child to pick what vegetables they like best. Um, a small selection, two or three, so that they can still feel that they are choosing rather than just being told what to do or what to eat, might help them eat their food a little bit better. Now, during the school year, strong communication between families and school is essential for supporting students with ADHD. Building a positive relationship with teachers allows parents to share what works at home and learn how their child is doing in the classroom. Collaboration and regular check-ins, whether through email, communication logs, or scheduled meetings, also help identify issues before they escalate. Sharing with your school or your teacher the ADHD diagnosis can open the door to school accommodations such as extra time on test, preferential seating, movement breaks, or help with organization. It is also important to talk openly with a healthcare provider about treatment options. For some children, medication can improve focus and reduce impulsivity, making it easier to use behavioral strategies. Medication is not right for everyone, and decisions should always be made with a qualified provider. Available accommodations at school can include a 504 plan or an IEP, depending on how severely the condition impacts their learning. A medical diagnosis alone does not automatically qualify a student for these plans. The condition must actively cause a substantial limitation or barrier to your child's education. It is important to evaluate school performance, observe patterns at home and at school, keep track of these behaviors that seem persistent and interfere with their daily life. Talk to the teachers. Educators often see how a child compares to peers, and their insights might be valuable. Consult with with a mental health professional if your child's pediatrician thinks it's necessary. A formal evaluation looks at a range of criteria to determine if the ADHD is present and what type it might be. Stay open to different presentations. ADHD doesn't always look like hyperactivity. It can be about attention, memory, or self-regulation emotionally. Now, if your child is thriving, making good grades, managing their behavior, and have no trouble focusing, you do not need to request either plan at this time, but keep it in mind, monitor them closely, and maybe you can need it in the future. If your child is struggling or you notice declining grades, behavioral issues, extreme trouble completing assignments, you should request an evaluation from the school in writing immediately. Always make sure that this request is in writing to your school's 504 coordinator or special education director. And the need for the writing request is because this creates a formal paper trail that legally compels the school district to respond and begin an evaluation. Now, children with ADHD often experience repeated negative feedback, which can impact self-esteem. Supporting a child with ADHD requires validating their feelings, teaching them to label their emotions, and offering consistent routines to reduce anxiety. Because your brains experience emotions more intensely, it is best to respond with patience, provide positive reinforcement, and help them build confidence through their strengths, which helps build resilience. Teaching children that ADHD is part of how their brain works can reduce shame and promote self-advocacy, especially in our teenagers. Emotional support creates a foundation for learning, growth, and confidence, especially during challenging transitions like the start of a new school year. Acknowledge how they feel to build trust before discussing solutions. Many of these kids struggle to articulate their feelings and they act out instead. Help them build emotional literacy by asking them to pause and name their feelings. So instead of I'm mad, give them other language to identify what is actually happening. Expanding a child's emotional vocabulary allows them to articulate their feelings accurately. Use emotional wheels or charts to aid in this and make emotions a topic of regular family discussions. Counterbalance the daily struggles of ADHD by highlighting their unique skills. Now, the emotion wheels or charts, I found some of those online as well. It will all depend on the age of your child and what it is that they can understand with the words, but it was very helpful to understand that not only mad, but elaborate a little bit more on why they are feeling mad. And is it because they're just not understanding? Do they need more help? Do they just need that break because their brain already reached a limit with homework? So maybe just an extra break and then getting back to what they need to do. Again, there are several examples of this emotional verbal language that I can share with you guys. Now, as we're wrapping this up, the most important message to remember is that ADHD is manageable and support truly makes a difference. Children with ADHD can succeed in school when they are understood, encouraged, and are given the proper preparation, consistency, and support. Back to school does not have to mean constant stress and struggle. Simple strategies like clear routines, positive reinforcement, and open communication can lead to meaningful improvements. Progress may be slow at times and setbacks are normal, but small wins matter and should be celebrated. Families are not alone in this process. Teachers, school staff, healthcare providers can all be partners in supporting a child's success. Focusing on strengths, not just challenges, helps children build confidence and resilience. With patience, consistency, and teamwork, students with ADHD can develop skills that will benefit them from far beyond the classroom. The goal is not perfection, but growth and understanding and a supportive path that can assist children in moving forward into the school year and beyond. Going back to the charts, one of the things that I mainly read was that it is best if you have either a dry erase board or laminate the charts that you have to where your child can go ahead and physically do a check mark of everything that they have accomplished. Why? Because this fuels the ADHD brain with dopamine. It literally just makes your brain understand I finished something, and it gives you that pride or that happiness that a child might feel, making them want to continue with their list. So laminating them or a dry erase board again is something that I came across in all the research for ADHD. And again, on a personal note, being a mother of an ADHD child. Do you guys have any questions?
If there are any questions, you guys can place them in the chat or you can take yourself off of mute to ask the questions. I don't see any at this time. I will say on a personal note because my son is severely ADHD. Some of the things that help with the meltdowns is meditation music. Um, Using calming meditation music for children, that seems to help him quite a bit because sometimes with our kiddos, they don't want to, they get to that point and trying to engage with them and talk to them and have communications doesn't work. And you have to literally sit there and wait for them to calm themselves down before they're ready to listen. That does help, and using that at bedtime, bedtime meditation music helps too. And there is focus music that you can play for ADHD adults and children that can help with homework during homework as well. Those are some things that I use. A couple of the questions that have come in is what are some tips for a child that is extremely picky with their food? And if we see similar traits in ourselves, how can we balance our emotions or overwhelm when handling the children?
With the first question, with the food question, my child was one of those picky eaters, extremely picky. And honestly, at the time, we're talking about 2000s, early 2000s. His pediatrician at one point to me said, Carmen, if this is what he can eat and what he likes to eat, let him eat that. And every single meal, you offer something different. If they taste it and like it, good, you can add it to his list of foods.